A sharp wind cut through Washington, D.C., as reporters gathered outside the White House. Microphones were raised, cameras clicked into place, interns hovered with coffee cups. Everything followed the usual choreography of a press conference. President Donald Trump stood at the podium, answering questions with his familiar confidence. But something was quietly unraveling at the back of the crowd. Clarissa Ray, 28, clutched her microphone with trembling hands. She was known in the newsroom for her calm presence on live television. Yet today, faint black streaks ran down her cheeks where mascara had betrayed her. No one noticed. No one asked. She wasn't even supposed to be there. Clarissa had taken the day off, but her editor insisted she cover the event, calling it career-defining. What no one knew was that she had come straight from the ICU, where her mother lay unconscious after a massive stroke. Clarissa hadn't slept. She hadn't cried properly either, until now. Trump finished answering a question about the economy and turned to call on another reporter. Then his gaze landed on Clarissa. He stopped mid-motion. "Are you okay?" he asked suddenly. "Why are you crying?" The air went still. Cameras swiveled. Reporters froze. Clarissa lowered her microphone, stunned. This wasn't supposed to happen. Her throat tightened. "It's personal," she managed. Instead of turning back to the podium, Trump stepped away from it. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Secret Service agents stiffened as he walked directly toward her. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice quieter now. "Clarissa," she whispered. He nodded. "You don't have to explain yourself here. But if you ever want to talk, you have my attention." Then he turned back. The moment was brief, unscripted, and unforgettable. By evening, Clarissa's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Colleagues whispered in hallways. Newsrooms speculated. Why did Trump stop the conference? Who was the crying reporter? Her image was everywhere, but her story was nowhere. She spent the night at the hospital, sitting beside her mother's bed, holding her hand. "You always said life is about stories that matter," Clarissa whispered. "I think I just became one." Her phone rang. Unknown number. "This is Donald Trump?" The voice said calmly. Clarissa sat up straight. Her heart raced. "You said it was personal," he continued. "I meant that. If you need help, even off the record, I'm listening." She hesitated. Then the words spilled out. "My mom, she had a stroke. I almost didn't come today." A pause. "What's her name?" he asked. "Susan Ray." Another pause. "Thank you for telling me. Let me know what she needs." The line went dead. Clarissa stared at her phone, unsure if it had really happened. The next morning, a nurse approached her, wide-eyed. "You're the reporter from TV, right?" "Yes." "The president called last night, asked that your mother be moved to a private room, said to make sure she has everything she needs." Clarissa felt tears rise again, this time from disbelief. By noon, her network wanted her on air. They wanted the story. She refused. "I'm not a headline," she said. Other outlets ran with it anyway. The reporter who stopped the president. Trump's unexpected soft side. Clarissa knew how media spin worked. She had used it herself. But this time, she wanted none of it. She agreed to speak, once, on her own terms. Sitting before the camera, not as a correspondent but as herself, Clarissa took a breath. "I believe journalism should reveal truth, not manufacture it," she began. "Yesterday, something happened that surprised everyone, especially me." She told the story. About her mother, Susan Ray, a schoolteacher for 30 years. About standing in that press line, barely holding herself together. "President Trump saw me," she said, her voice cracking. And instead of moving on, he asked why I was crying. No politics. No agenda. Just a human question. She paused. Sometimes it takes one moment of compassion to remind us that beneath all the noise, people still care. The studio was silent. The clip went viral within minutes. That night, alone in her childhood home, Clarissa searched for her mother's medical records and found something unexpected. A sealed envelope addressed to her. "Open if I'm ever in the hospital." Her hands shook as she opened it. "Dear Clarissa, if you're reading this, I'm probably lying in bed somewhere while you worry your brilliant heart out. Don't shrink your voice. You were never meant only to report stories. You were meant to stand inside them. And if someone shows you kindness in a dark moment, don't push it away. Let humanity surprise you. Clarissa wept, understanding something she hadn't before. Maybe this story wasn't about a president. Maybe it was about people choosing to see one another. The next morning, an envelope arrived. An invitation to a private White House event. Not as press, as a guest. Inside, a simple note. For Clarissa Ray, thank you for your honesty. Clarissa hesitated before accepting the invitation. Was it a photo opportunity? A political maneuver? A trap wrapped in courtesy? Her mother's words echoed in her mind. Let humanity surprise you. Clarissa said yes. When she arrived at the White House, she wasn't led into a press room. Instead, she was greeted personally. No cameras today, President Trump said as he shook her hand. I didn't invite you as press. I invited you because I think your story is bigger than headlines. Clarissa blinked, unsure what to say. You reminded me, he continued, that people aren't just voters or reporters. They're daughters, sons, fighters. She hadn't expected humility. This wasn't politics. This was something quieter and heavier. Inside the room, Clarissa noticed a wall covered in handwritten letters. Notes from farmers, teachers, veterans, single mothers, ordinary people, extraordinary honesty. I started collecting these again after I lost touch with the why, Trump said, gesturing toward the wall. Then he handed her a pen. Add something. Clarissa paused, then wrote, We're all one story away from being seen. Clarissa Ray. Stepping back. She saw her words among dozens of others. Messages that never made headlines, yet clearly shaped decisions behind closed doors. Maybe empathy wasn't about grand gestures. Maybe it was about listening. Back at the station, her appearance stirred tension. Some colleagues praised her courage. Others accused her of being used. You humanize a man who divides people. One snapped. Clarissa replied evenly. I didn't humanize him. I acknowledged a human moment. That's not the same thing. Her editor pulled her aside. This is bigger than any segment. People are paying attention. You may have started something real. He offered her a new platform. Stories that matter. Clarissa hesitated, then accepted. Deep down, she knew this was her calling. 3 days later, she sat at her mother's bedside, reading aloud an article she'd just published about kindness, connection, and truth. Suddenly, her mother's fingers twitched. Mom, Clarissa whispered. Susan Ray's eyes fluttered open. You're awake? Clarissa gasped, tears spilling. Her mother's voice was faint but steady. Did you tell your story? Clarissa nodded, sobbing. You were always meant to. The nurse called it a miracle. Clarissa called it hope. Her new segment aired nationwide. Politics aside, Clarissa said on camera, we are aching for connection. That press conference didn't change policy, but it reminded me of something more powerful, the ability to truly see one another. The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from nurses, firefighters, students, veterans. Thank you for reminding us we're not alone. Late-night shows mentioned it. Classrooms discussed it. It wasn't about Trump. It wasn't about the press. It was about being seen. Clarissa decided to honor her mother. She launched a scholarship for journalism students who chose truth over trends, the Susan Ray Voice Award. Donations flooded in. Even the White House sent a personal check. From one fighter's family to another, the note read, but the most touching contribution came in a crumpled envelope. $5 and a note from a child who wrote, I finally felt heard. Clarissa returned to her hometown to speak at the school where her mother had taught for decades. Truth, she told the students, starts when you're brave enough to care. The applause was warm, but one girl raised her hand. Is it okay to cry in public? Clarissa smiled. Sometimes it's the most honest thing you can do. Across the country, newsrooms began shifting. Reporters searched for a heart instead of heat. Clarissa's inbox filled with stories. Janitors saving children, veterans comforting strangers, quiet heroes waiting for someone to listen. She gave them a voice, one story at a time. A week later, as she wrapped her show, a producer rushed in. Someone's here to see you. It was Trump, unannounced. I figured you'd rather hear it in person, he said. I'm starting an initiative, Voices of America, highlighting people like your mother, Like you, I want you to help lead it. Clarissa looked at him, not as a politician, but as a man honoring a moment. She nodded. Let's do it. Weeks later, Susan Ray sat upright in her hospital bed, reading letters, thousands of them. She told the world what mattered. Susan whispered. Clarissa smiled. You taught me first. Netflix called. They wanted a documentary. Clarissa agreed on one condition: no dramatization, only truth. It premiered as one tear, one question, one moment. It broke records and healed hearts. Clarissa aired her final segment before taking a year off to write a book. Her last words on air: if you see someone crying, don't look away. Ask them why. That single question might change everything. A year later, she stood before a graduating class of journalism students. She read her mother's letter, then added, "May you always have the courage to be human first." The room rose in applause. In the crowd, a girl held a sign, "Future reporter. Because of you." Clarissa used part of the scholarship fund to build a garden beside her mother's school, Susan's Garden of Stories. Each plant bore a plaque with a student's name. It bloomed with color and meaning. Years later, at a book signing, a young boy tugged her sleeve. "Are you the lady who cried and changed everything?" Clarissa laughed softly. "I suppose I am. I want to tell stories too," he said. She handed him a pen. "Then start," she said. "You're just one story away." And in that moment, Clarissa understood. That tear had never been weakness. It had been a seed. And now, the world was blooming.